IVM.
Welcome to Absolutely Right. I'm your host Aditi Surana. Most of us struggle with communication gaps. We struggle to put across our point to our parents, siblings, spouse, friends, or even to our colleagues. Very few people know how to carefully navigate through these situations without causing any friction. Today's episode is an Ask Me Anything. It is created by taking parts of a graphology based coaching session with one of our Absolutely Right podcast listeners.
Everyone thinks for themselves. Everyone has their own stories in which they're the movie star. Everyone has realizations about what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. Once you do realize, hey, okay, this is not a healthy behavior, or this is something maybe I should, work on. What are some ways to make concrete self-improvement steps? And to further that conversation, how do you have this conversation about self-improvement with people you love or people you want the best for?
I'm talking with a 23-year-old young man who's trying to explain his point of view to his family. He knows he loves them deeply, but doesn't seem to agree with some of the choices they want him to make. The original conversation was an hour-long session. We have taken some important portions to answer the burning question: how do we deal with disagreements with people we love? Listen to this episode if you are surrounded by misunderstandings, if you struggle to set a common ground with your family members, or if you know that you need to change your communication style but have no clue where to begin. In a survey conducted with divorced couples, they found that most couples survive financial crisis, major health issues, even natural calamity. But marriages break when people disagree on petty things in the house, like which TV to buy, whose opinion is preferred while setting the drawing room, or who should apologize first. Basically, one person's opinion over the other. We all want to be loved and accepted. I believe we all wish to love and accept. But the problem is, मेरा वाला blue आपके वाले blue से अलग है. Which means my idea of love and acceptance is different from your idea of love and acceptance. Our daily fights and arguments are about either our inability or our unwillingness to look at other person's perspective. So, how do we find a common ground? Let's learn that today. We will start our session on the other side of this short break. Stay tuned.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
So, hi Tanishq.
Hi Aditi, how are you?
Very well. How are you? What questions do you have for me today?
I'm doing well. I did have some questions for you, mostly in the realm of, personal and professional life, something that I've been thinking about. And I think I would like to start with something that a lot of people my age also might be concerned about. Being 23, right after college, right before you start, working in a field. And add on top of that, family pressures in terms of, they're thinking about what you should do, and like a family business or whatever. What are your thoughts, and what is your advice on people in my position or me, where I know what I want to do and I'm pretty clear on the fact that my family might not be in the field that I want to get involved in, and how do I forge and walk my own path?
So, when I was of your age, which was a long time ago, and when I wanted to choose a career of graphology that my father did not approve of, I chose to leave my house and do it on my own. When I look back and if I think about that moment, and it's one of the glorious things that I was asked over and over again, and I spoke over and over again. But with all honesty, Tanishq, when I look at those moments, I wish I wouldn't have done it. I wish I would have had a method to stand there and speak with my father and come on a common platform with him. So if I had to go back and relive those moments, I would do them differently. Like I know that he didn't agree. I knew that this is something that was out of his perspective. But I felt, and I keep feeling this, that he's no more now, that I wish I would have known how to translate my ideas into his perspective. Okay, you can never convince the other person to agree with something they do not agree with. And I understand that. And I'm sure you personally and other people are facing that battle. But when you grow up, and I'm saying it from other side of the story, when you look back and you feel, did I give my best shot? Did I make sure that I did not leave any stone unturned? It's only you who would answer that question. So when you're there, when you're dealing with the situation, figure out what is your way to make sure that you have given your best shot in translating your ideas into their perspective. Right now, you might be expecting them to understand your perspective, but for example, what you're thinking is in French, and they're really fluent in English. And you're like, but why are you not getting it? And you are fluent in English and French both, or French specifically. So you can think in French and you can write poetry in French, and for them it is gibberish. So whatever is your idea, you have to translate it into their perspective. After speaking with many parents over the years, I realized when they are concerned about your career choices, including my father, they are concerned about your overall well-being. When they can't see any proof of the concept, they don't know how to look at this. When they do not see any precedence, if they don't look at anybody who has already made it, or you having a plan of action to try, then it becomes very difficult because they're like, okay, one more idea he has come up with, and we don't know what's going to happen. And now, at this point, it is not a college project, but entire career is at stake. Now, when it's like you are talking about an experiment, and they are talking about survival. For them, this is your only chance to make it or break it in your life, which is tough for them. Like you're fighting for thriving, and they are fighting for survival. So their resistance is a lot more.
Yeah.
So what has worked for many people is when you buy time. You say, I want 2 years to do this. I want 3 years to look at this. Whatever is a suitable time. Also this point that you're 23. If you don't experiment today, and if you keep feeling that I should have done it, you will live a life where you'll regret. Your parents would get that perspective. Most parents understand. When they were young, they wanted to do certain things, but there has to be a time limit and result orientation to it. So they give me 3 years and I expect myself to do this, this, this. Now that, and you have to be committed to it. When you walk, and this is told to me by so many people who walked a different path, then you are actually under scrutiny. Unfortunately so, but you are under scrutiny because you're saying, I take responsibility and I'm going to figure this out. Like, it was my responsibility to complete my education because I had taken responsibility. It was my responsibility to make graphology a successful profession because I took responsibility. So when you are going on that front, you can't say, yeah, I'll do whatever. If they sense it, then they step in and they try to save you. And you're like, but I don't require you to save me. But they're like, but you're not helping yourself. Let us help you. So it is an everyday process. And I believe you're living with them. If that is the case, then they know exactly what you're doing. And there is no way of making this process easier. So you will have to crack it with sincerity, which I believe you wish to do anyway. So
For sure. Yeah. Personally, and this is something that's come up before. Uh, just talking to my peers, that that exact thing, that disconnect, that chasm between generations. There's some just generational gaps that how much ever you try, you cannot fill. And something that I'm a big proponent of personally is, having that conversation regardless, and finding in mathematical terms that intersection in those Venn diagrams, right?
Right.
And of the past year, I was indulging my family, my family's business. We are gem and jewelry traders, and as I indulged them, they also started to see how I don't fit in this life and how I'm not made, quote unquote, for this, right? And I think that wouldn't have come if I just, shut myself off saying, hey,
Exactly.
you know what, I can't do this, right? Even if I knew that.
And in many conflicts, this happens, right? When people walk in, they walk in with like, I am right, you're wrong. You're not understanding my perspective. Then there is no way to find a mid path. What you're
Yeah,
talking about, you say, okay, I'm going to go and look at your perspective and see if it works for me. When you did that, now they trust you when you say it doesn't work for me because you tried. Now, when you look at it, you say, okay, but my perspective is this. Now, I want you to understand it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're against me. But this is not what I want to do. In
yeah,
this
yeah,
case, the conversation is about the problem and not about you and him, on you and your mother. It's not about that. It's about
right.
literally sitting there and saying the problem is in front of us and we have to look at it in the best possible manner to solve the problem.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
the
awesome.
generation gap, I also feel like every generation have had a generation gap. So,
100%.
it's a common thing. Like sometimes my sister who's 5 years younger, when I look at her life choices and her perspective, I feel, oh my God, why I don't relate to it? So that they say minimum 10 to 15 years used to be a generation gap. Now it's like 5 to 7 years. And it's gonna reduce the time. So you have to look at that, like probably they're 5 generations away from you or 3 generations away from you, not one. So their
Yeah.
perspectives are very, very solid in a different reality and context compared to yours.
Yeah, yeah. There's just that piece that I want to make sure that I mention. Like how my parents would say, "Oh, you're on the screen all the time and all, and you have access to so much stuff." And in my position, I'm like, it's okay. Like I get access to so many things just with my device, right? But right now, my generation would be contemplating privacy law, right? How much? What is my threshold to give away my data, give away my information in exchange for that free information and access? Now, my children or the next generation that's coming up, it's an easy choice for them, right? Like, oh, what privacy? I'm getting too much. And they'll probably be
They
dealing
will
with
have
some
some
other ethical dilemma,
exactly. So we will
right?
have
Like,
some other drama about our abilities to solve our problems. But what we
yeah,
are talking
yeah,
about is, and that's how improvement and growth happens in society. That's exactly what's going to happen. They say that the richest man in 1800s has lesser amenities than the poorest man today,
yeah.
which is so
In
true.
fact, there's this another statistic that goes around. Obama in 2008 had less access to people than the commonest person here with a device today, right?
Exactly.
Which is insane to think about. We sent the first satellite to, or the first, I guess, yeah, satellite rocket to the moon with less computational power than what we have in our calculators today, which
Exactly.
is mind blowing, right? So, yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, here's the second question.
Yep.
Everyone thinks for themselves, everyone has their own stories in which they're the movie star. And everyone has realizations about what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, right? Um, Once you do realize, hey, okay, this is not a healthy behavior, or this is something maybe I should, work on. What are some ways to make concrete self improvement steps? And to further that conversation, how do you have this conversation about self improvement with people you love or people you want the best for?
Okay. So can you be specific and give me an actual situation so that we can really look at how do we solve that problem?
Sure, sure. I'll take a personal example. So, the way I would deal with something that for example, my sister, right? My sister is an artist. She does work, at home on the rooftop in our living room, and sometimes she'll be working and she'll leave a mess behind, and she won't clean up after herself. Now, the way I have noticed I process this is by ignoring it for the time being. Like, oh, maybe this doesn't happen the next time, or maybe this doesn't happen the next time. And once it starts happening, I feel like I am trying to catch a trend and not an isolated incident. But also, what starts happening is my bucket starts filling up in terms of my annoyance and my irritation. And then how it comes out is not, hey, I've noticed you constantly do this, but it comes out as a burst of energy and a burst of anger. And that's not a healthy way, obviously. And I realize that, but how do you proceed to make those concrete changes?
I think it's a great question because it's such an important everyday problem. Like people love each other and they are willing to give their blood for each other, but when it comes to like cleaning the mess after the person, you're like, but why should I do it? So I totally agree. And the siblings, it happens even stronger. Even with spouses, it happens. So let's look at the situation. Okay, there are two parts to the story. Now, we want the other person to change for our benefit. You want your living room to be clean, proper, and that's why you want her to clean up. You may think and rationalize this idea by saying, I want her to clean up because it's a good habit. I want her to clean up because everybody should. Whatever is your rationalization. Let's be honest, you want to do it because when you walk in that living room, you want it to be clean and you don't want the mess around. And that is your preference. Versus your sister's preference is leaving her colors around, and that stimulates her, and she knows her work is incomplete, and now she'll come back and she'll do it after 1 hour after having taken her break. Now, what we are fighting here is two people's perspective, two people's preferences. First and foremost thing is no preference is a correct preference. Okay? Neither her preference is correct nor yours. But we believe that if it's a common space, this should be done. So when you walk into a situation with what should and what shouldn't be done, you're already behaving like a principal in the situation. I am the rule maker and you should follow the rule. Or these are the rules of the house, so everybody should follow it. Now, I always ask people this question. So what is your objective? You want her to feel that she is wrong? You want her to apologize? Or you really want her to change the behavior? So, two parts to the story. First of all, when you have the right and wrong judgment when you walk into the situation, walking in as a person that she would resist. Because you're telling her what to do and what not to do. Now, we do not like anybody telling us that, right? Now, This piece may come really handy when explaining to your parents about what you want to do in life, because the same negotiation that we're talking about is a negotiation on a daily basis. So when you tell your sister that communication has to be very carefully done, because already you guys have fought about it and both of you are sore, that she believes that I don't want to agree with what Tanishq has to say and you believe I don't want to live by her standard. So one person has to change the direction, and instead of keeping the issue between you, you have to look at it as a problem in front of you and sit her down and have this conversation without making her wrong, without feeling that she is wrong in it. If she says that I want it for entire day, what is your problem? Then what will you do? Then you will, when you use that space, you will go around it. If she says I want entire day to my stuff to lie around so that I feel creative, what will you do? You will go around the problem. So there's no practical problem. It's only a problem of my opinion versus yours.
Right.
So if it is about opinions, ask yourself, it really matters to you that the house is messed up, or it matters to you that she's inconsiderate?
I think like 30-70 latter taking the weight on that. And I fully realize, right? Like if it's my own personal space, can I ever like have a right to like control how it looks and how it feels? So, do you, if you need the space in a certain way, do you, like, I don't have a right because it's not my space. But a lot of times it feels like, how will it not even come to your, like, she's also a very aware person. How did not even come across to you that, hey, this might disturb someone else, or
basically inconsiderate. So you're like, how could you be inconsiderate of other people's requirement? And you want that behavior to change genuinely.
Right.
If you want that genuine shift, and this is a tough part and not very desirable one, but this is how it is, but we cannot create those changes for the other person. The only way you can communicate it, to see the actual behavioral shift, is by when you're in that living room and when you see things being all over the place, if you start putting them in one corner, because you are considerate for other people, not her, but also other people. Also, if you understand, if that is her freedom, if you start being considerate towards her, So instead of saying you shouldn't be here, if you keep it in one section and become considerate about her requirements, you're actually showing consideration in action to her in your behavior.
Right.
As long as you see that she is not being considerate about other people's requirement, she believes you are not being considerate about her requirement of having that thing open because that's how she thinks. So the only way we can actually create a shift for the other person is by behaving in that manner. For example, if I scream at you and tell you that, Tanish, you have to be respectful towards me, you won't get it. You're like, look at you, Aditi. You're not being respectful in saying it. What are you talking about? But if I'm respectful, no matter whether I agree with you or don't agree with you, I say, okay, yeah, there's a possibility of being considerate and still having my space. But in any relationship, at least 15 to 20 times you have to say the same thing without losing your calm and may hope that the situation may change. But if you start feeling that I told you once and why is it not changed, nobody is employing anybody here. So nobody is entitled and supposed to listen to you. It's your preference, it doesn't matter. But when you're patient about it and when you know, when I realized it and I'm like, okay, 20 times I have to repeat this. And in that, if the change happens, I just going to be grateful about it. So I'm going to give you a very small example, okay? My mother, in this lockdown, we don't have any help, right? So we're doing everything in the house. So my mother, every time she puts clothes to dry, she leaves that little dabba open. And I told her once, but I realized it's a habit. And it's on my dressing table, there's a section. So it does irritate me because it's my space. But now, as she's living with me, I'm considerate conversation. So I close that dabba and I keep it inside. Then it is open next morning. I stopped telling her. Like I told her once and I realized that I communicated, but every time I close it and I put it back, I close it and I put it back. After almost a month, she noticed that, every day she leaves it like this and it goes back inside. And the change happened. It happened. One communication and 30 days of everyday dedicated action without actually being upset about it. It worked. Not in every relationship it would work because the other person has to realize it. So there's no right or wrong way of doing it. But in this process, if you're going to hold that anger and walk around thinking your sister is inconsiderate for one thing, then you're just going to spoil your relationship further, which I feel is a higher cost than the little space in your living room.
For sure. Thank you for that.
No, it's not about blatantly adjusting or blindly suppressing yourself, but it is about finding a common ground. Yes, it takes patience, love, and commitment. But there is no quick fix when it comes to emotions and people. With more independence and less swipe options, we are growing impatient when it comes to people and relationships. This lockdown has taught many of us that we cannot run away from our families, whether we like it or not. Let's learn how to connect better. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Absolutely Right. Do let me know what were your favorite parts of this conversation. What did you learn about yourself from this episode? Please share this episode with somebody who is dealing with similar situations like communication gaps or generation gap. My team and I are committed to create conversations that will inspire actionable everyday changes for each one of us. To be part of our multiple initiatives, visit aditisurana.com or send your questions, comments, or feedback to my Instagram handle @AditiSurana. If you like this podcast, then don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on IVM Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are @IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Let's connect on Friday. Till then, happy writing!
How many times have you motivated yourself to improve your sleep or lose weight or be more productive? How many times have you failed? Hi, my name is Ashton Doctor. Tune into my show, The Habit Coach Podcast, where we focus on creating small, tiny habits to improve your life instead of those big, impossible tasks. So make listening to me a habit every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or on your favorite podcasting app.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
We are here to debunk them all.
We're your family WhatsApp group's worst nightmare. We're what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we're just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel.
And me, Tushar.
Every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.